Okay, take like 17 on this cursed video. What's up, everyone? I'm Sophia Pasternak, award-winning author and mental health professional, and this channel is all about where writing meets psychology. I'll also post videos about my author journey and bread baking and outdoorsy stuff. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button so you're always notified as soon as I post something new. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up so I know to make more like it. Even though right now doing my character therapy series, there's not really a whole lot of risk in me not doing more of it because I stinking love this stuff and I want to share it with everybody. So there will definitely be more videos about character therapy. If you haven't already watched my character therapy overview video, I'm going to link that up here somewhere. And go watch that, check it out so that you are familiar with kind of the basics of this, so I don't have to make this video 40 minutes long repeating myself on everything, all of the theory and stuff like that. So now we're going to get into the very first deep dive into a schema that I'm doing, which is abandonment and instability. And if we're being honest, this is like the fourth take of this video that I'm doing, and something keeps happening every time right in the middle to mess me up. So whatever. We're going to do this. We're going to finish. Off we go. So the very first schema that I'm doing is the abandonment and instability schema, which in a nutshell is my loved ones are going to leave me. And it's that certainty that your loved ones are going to leave you. Now, something that I pointed out in the overview video is that schemas are largely subconscious and you don't really have the direct thought, my loved ones are going to leave me, but you will act as though that thought is constantly going through your head. And when I say you, I mean your characters, not you as a person, your characters. So when you are going through daily life, everything that you're doing to interact with other people is done with this assumption that eventually they're going to leave you. And this can be either physically leaving you, walking out the door, driving away. It can be emotionally leaving you, or it can be even passing away or dying. Now, when I say emotionally leaving you, that's different than another schema called the emotional deprivation schema, very subtly. But yes, you can be emotionally abandoned as well. People with the abandonment and instability schema will be hypervigilant when it comes to these perceived abandonments, and they might be like accusatory, and they will be convinced that their partner is going to leave them at any moment, or their significant others are going to leave them at any moment. And they can become very clingy and very controlling and very smothering, which ironically will push these people away even faster. Now, in my overview video, I talked about 3 different ways that people respond to their schema being triggered. By triggering a schema, what I mean is that a situation arises which makes the thought in their head go, they're going to leave you, they're going to abandon you. And the response to that is one of 3 things. It's either overcompensating for the schema, which is acting as though the opposite of the schema is true, avoiding the schema, which is acting like it doesn't even exist, it's not even there, or surrendering to the schema, which is just accepting that it's true, this is going to happen, I might as well just let it happen. So with abandonment, the overcompensators, the schema will be triggered, and the overcompensators will immediately act as though no one's ever going to leave me, and I'm going to make sure of it. So they will start clinging to their partner. They'll get really, really smothery and all up in their business, and they'll try to control them in order to keep them from leaving, and that generally causes the person to leave anyway, to which the overcompensator can tell themselves, well, they didn't leave, I made them leave, and so they can kind of soothe those emotions coming up from that schema being triggered. So the avoiders probably won't be in this situation in the first place because they avoid by not putting themselves in a situation where the schema could be triggered, which means no significant others. If you don't date anybody, they can't abandon you. Very, very smart. If they happen to be in a relationship somehow and their loved one is showing these signs of they're going to leave, the avoider will cope with the emotions coming up with that by avoiding them. So they will do some kind of numbing activity to avoid those emotions. And that can come in the form of something like binge drinking. It can come in the form of overeating, playing too many video games, binge watching Netflix while all ignoring their partner, which doesn't help and it makes things worse. Now, finally, the surrenderers. The surrenderers act as though the schema is true. It's going to happen. Absolutely. Now, remember, these are all subconscious. Like the thought that my partner is going to leave me is subconscious. It is not an active thought that they have. So they will unconsciously find people and seek people out to be in relationships with who have a history of leaving people, who have a history of cheating, who have a history of that kind of thing. And they will seek them out on purpose in order to kind of self-fulfill the schema coming true. And sometimes they will respond in really big and emotionally, bombastic ways, because even though you know something is true, it still hurts when it happens. The lie, the want, the truth, and the wound are all involved in the abandonment schema. The lie is, people are going to leave me. I'm going to get left. The people who love me are going to abandon me. And now when you are planning out your character's arc, you start it with that lie, that fundamental lie, and we want to end with the opposite of the lie, which is the truth, which is something like, they're not going to, I'm not destined to be abandoned. I am not unlovable. People are not inevitably going to leave me. So that's where you need to end up. And that arc is them realizing that's the whole way. And they're going to be fighting against the want. And the want is the thing that assumes that the lie is true, and it's the thing that they think they need to be happy. So the want in an abandonment schema would be, I need to find a relationship with somebody who's not going to abandon me. The truth is that that thing that the character actually needs in order to be happy and actually be like a self-actualized person. Now, the want is generally a physical thing or like another person, whereas the truth is usually an intangible idea, a perception shift, an opinion change, something like that. And the optional part of this character arc is the wound, which is the thing that caused the lie in the first place. So now I want you to jump into a Word document or grab a piece of paper or get some Post-it notes, a chalkboard, I don't care, something that you can write down stuff on. And I want you to write down 3 things. So number 1 is, what is your main character's relationship with that schema, with that lie? So write down what their relationship is with the fundamental lie that they live their life by. Pause me if you have to. All right, did you do it? Okay, so now write down what could happen in that character's life to enforce that lie, to make that lie more truthful, to kind of sell them more on it. Write down what people could say to them, events that could happen, thoughts that they could have in their own mind, just anything that could shore up and enforce and reinforce that lie. Okay, so the third thing I want you to write are all of the things that could challenge that lie, the things other people could say, events that could happen, thoughts the character could have that would all challenge that lie and make them reconsider, hey, maybe this isn't right after all. So save that piece of paper, save those Post-it notes, don't erase that chalkboard, and in the future when you're writing the story and you are stuck, and you just can't get past whatever roadblock you're at, go back to this piece of paper and throw one of those scenarios down onto the page. So if you're in your last half of your second act, grab one of the things that could challenge that lie and just write a scene with it in it. And it might get you unstuck, but it also might become a really important part of your story, because as your character is having this arc, they need to be challenged, and they need that lie to be challenged, and they also need it to be reinforced, so they kind of have to choose and go back and forth for a little while. It's that bong, bong, bong back and forth that makes stories really interesting to read, because if your character just has this linear, like, straight line, that's kind of boring, so we need kind of that up and down on what's going to happen next and what are they going to choose. That's abandonment. That is instability. That is it. We're done. So in review, the abandonment instability schema is the fundamental belief that the people who are supposed to love you are going to leave you. And it can be physically leaving, walking out the door, driving away. It can be emotionally leaving you, or it can be dying, passing away, something like that. And these schemas are generally started in childhood by a parental figure or authority figure doing the same stuff to the child, leaving them, abandoning them somehow. And that child will start to believe that that is how the world is supposed to be. Now, when that schema gets triggered, one of three responses can happen. You can be an overcompensator, you can be an avoider, or you can be a surrenderer. Depending on your temperament and just how your life has kind of gone, you'll pick one of those three ways to go, and then life happens from there. So if your characters have the abandonment or instability schema, take them on that character arc journey, with the lie being people are going to abandon me, and the truth being people are going to stick with me because I am worth sticking with. And then you can kind of trace their arc from point A to point B. I really hope that you learned something new today. I hope that you learned something useful that you can take with you into your writing journey. Don't forget to check out my Patreon if you want detailed PDFs and worksheets on how to really incorporate these into your writing. And subscribe to this video, or subscribe to this channel if you're not already. Like this video, give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and if you have a friend or a writing buddy or anything who could benefit from this, please share. I really want to get this out there and help as many people with rich, deep, full characters as I possibly can. And I made it to the end of this cursed video, so I'm going to stop while I'm ahead. Have a great day.